Season 2, Episode 6, Making Your First Month's Count. When you are brand new to making music, there is so much information being thrown at you. So many tutorials, so many videos. What equipment do you buy? What plugins do you buy? Right? I always talk to you about gear lust, like we talked about in Season 2, Episode 3, which was taking music production seriously. In this episode, I have another interview with you. This one is with a student named Michael. His producer name is Avadar. He's been in the platform for over 12 months, and he's watched almost all of my courses, and he has come such a far way. Now, I highly suggest that you watch the video interview, as well as if you visit the page, I left a couple of his beats that he's made, right? So he is a perfect case study. He has come such a long way. He creates more dance kind of music, and it's super catchy. I'm really proud of him. Now, before we get into this episode, what I'm trying to tell you here with making your first month's count is my page that I created is called the Course Pathways. We will talk about it a bit in the interview, but it's a page that lays out all of my courses in what order to watch them, because I know how it feels. It's, it could be really overwhelming, even if you see all the courses I have. Like, so right now there's 26 courses, and that could feel overwhelming. Like, it's way too much content to watch, but you take it one course at a time. So the Course Pathways works by, I have a beginner, intermediate, advanced, and then kind of like a piano learning section. You start with the beginner's course and you work your way through that course. Once you complete it, you go on to the next. And this is the benefit of being a member. You just watch the Course Pathways page and you take it slow. Watch a course. When you're done, you go to the next course. And I promise you, you will see tremendous improvement in your music in 3 months. All right. It's happened to Michael here. So again, this is Michael's second interview. I interviewed him about a year ago. Another student, his name was Joe. Him too. He talked all about the Course Pathways page. All right. So make sure to check the resources of this episode for links on how to watch these interviews, to learn about the Course Pathways, as well as to check out the training platform. I promise you guys, if you are on YouTube and if you're struggling, if you feel that, you're kind of getting answers here and there, check out my Beatmaker trainer platform. There's so many courses. All you do is you watch the courses in order from the Course Pathways. And since you are a member, you get to watch all the courses at your own pace. And I'm here to help, okay? So here is the interview. I hope you enjoy. But again, I do suggest checking out the video and the written article so you can check out Avadar's beat. All right. Thank you, Michael. This is interview number 2. I wanted to give you a nice updated interview because you've come a long way. And something cool about you, Michael, is I think you've watched all of my courses.
Pretty much 90%.
Is it like 1 or 2?
I think I've three left, but they're for when I'm a pro.
Yeah, but you've come
for releasing your beat tapes and stuff like that.
Okay.
Which I haven't got around to yet.
But you've come such a far way, Okay,
Indeed.
So what courses were the ones that you felt took you to the next level of understanding, like, about beat making?
Well, I think for me, the beginner's course at the start really was probably the one that took me to another level, because you might know I spent months looking at YouTube videos and I was lost after a while because I had no structure. I had no music theory or anything like that. And the piano and the music theory course, because I didn't have music or didn't play an instrument at the time.
Okay, so the piano to the music theory course, do you feel that there's like a difference as you're watching those 2 different courses? Because I kind of created them with a little bit of a different mindset. Like the piano is it has the music theory, but you're playing the keys. And then the music theory is learning how to make music without knowing how to play the piano. So like knowing how to click your chords in and...
Yes. Yeah. They are 2 separate courses, as you say, but for some reason I did them together because I didn't know any of them. And it just combined, it linked things together for me to be able to start making my own beats, or apply stuff. Watching you in your courses, putting in chords and stuff like that, it made things a lot easier for me because I could understand what you were doing while you were explaining it. It made it a lot easier coming from a complete amateur point of view,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because then you can start learning, like, how do the notes work? And then you can just start being creative and start figuring out how to make catchy melodies. And, because half the battle is knowing the notes you're allowed to play.
Oh, yes. Yeah, without doubt, because it was just always listening for me and copying what somebody else is doing to try and understand what notes they're playing or what chords or keys they're playing. But with the music theory course, it gave me an understanding of the scale, music scales, and what keys you can play in certain chords when you're playing chords together in a particular scale.
Mm-hmm.
And it just made me understand my chord progressions, with a combination of, again, with the beginner's course and all the different things, how they fit together in the DAW and what you need to do in the piano roll, in the channel rack, etc. That's what really stood out to me, really, because it got me started and it progressed from there,
Awesome. Yeah, it got you to the point where you don't need to rely on watching a video to, like they're saying, click in these notes. It's like, no, like at the end of watching the music theory course and my piano course, like now you know how to make your own melodies, and which is hard in itself, but that's half the battle, is knowing the notes. And once you know the notes, now you can start being creative. Out of all of my courses, what was your favorite course?
For me, no, 12 months later, the mixer course for me was the one, because your mixer course, I suppose it brings all the courses that I spoke of the last few minutes together, and you're applying all your knowledge inside the mixer course, not just learning the mixer and having a better understanding of sends and parallel processing and all that. It's just there's something about mixing that I like, because you get real satisfaction when you can put on your FX and your EQs and your compressions, making the music theory that you learned and making it sound much better than what it could be,
having full control over your song.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
for sure.
It takes so long to get from A to B. Rome wasn't built in a day. I expected that I'd have all this within 6 months, but no, it's more like 6 years. Well,
at least.
Maybe not that extreme, but you're always learning.
Yeah, like I'm 10, 11 years in right now, and there's still so much for me to learn. Like I'm more the intermediate to the advanced level now. Like it's kind of like, just like anything in life, it's usually like you can learn the topic really fast up to a certain point, and then if you want to pass that point, it's like now it's a slower learning curve, and you really got to understand what you're reading and digesting and practicing.
It's incredible, yes, because I remember in your last interview with one of your members, it was a very good interview, actually. I really enjoyed it. A lot of the stuff said in that, I think I said it relates to a lot of the stuff I was thinking, but I think maybe every beginner, 70-80% of what I think James was his name, what James said, I think it applies to all of us. And it's amazing you don't know it at the time.
No.
But when you hear somebody else saying, you're saying, oh my God, that's exactly the way I felt, and I still feel with some of the stuff.
So okay, so that's my next question. Like, what did you find the hardest part about starting up making beats and finding the tools out there and gear lust and?
Oh, they're definitely guilty with the gear lust for me. Yes, you have to have every free VST that you see on the on YouTube and on the internet. You have to have that, and you don't use them half the time because you don't understand how to use some of them, and they're all within your DAW and you don't realize it. Well, you do realize it, but you might think that the other stuff is better. It's not. It's just...
sometimes it is, sometimes.
Well,
but not always.
Fab filter is a perfect example, actually, as you keep...
right.
At the start, you don't realize that, but as you progress, you do, certainly.
Yeah, so like when you're new, you're out there on YouTube, searching all these different new tools that you're finding reviews, free downloads, you're acquiring them. What happens is you actually are making yourself really unorganized. And then about
Yes.
6 months later, a year later, you realize like, man, I have all this stuff and it's like, I don't use half of it, but I started to use it in my projects. Now I'm kind of stuck with it, but it's okay because it's your early stages. So many of these beats aren't your serious beats, but yeah, so that happens to all of us. We start out, we get trapped in the gear lust.
I have a perfect example, actually, Riley. You, as you probably know, I changed my computer maybe 2 months ago.
Yeah, you got upgraded.
So I had an old computer, and it was getting overloaded with some projects. I was getting red lines everywhere. And your music production folder saved a lot of problems for me because I had a backup and I was able to just copy it from my drive onto the new computer without any issues whatsoever.
Nice.
That was smooth. But when it came to the free VSTs that I had, 70-80% of them, which I never used, but I might have used them once in a project in the early days.
Yeah.
And Bing comes up on your screen, FL Studio's missing.
Yeah.
But I was lucky enough. I had a backup folder. I was able to go in and find them. But because I was organized, probably. But it was definitely a wake-up call in one of your blogs. I think it was your first one this season's one. Did you mention that, you have to be careful if you get stuff that you may not, in a few years' time, you might only use it once, but in a few years' time, you're going looking at an old project and all of a sudden,
Mm-hmm.
And that was a wake-up call for me. I said, God, this is exactly what I experienced with one or two on a mini scale. But for us, it's definitely, it's learning every day when it comes to things like that. And it's a wise piece of advice.
Honestly, it's something that I realized like significantly within like the last year or two. So that's why I really wanted to get that out. So the free video was called, I think, selecting the right plugins as a producer. So that video is just telling you like, be wise in the plugins that you're acquiring, the ones that you're bringing in, because as soon as you use them, like you're stuck with them on serious projects, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So definitely. Like, because for me, like I create like I create my beat tapes or albums or whatever, and so if I want to open up that project in 4 years, 5 years, it's like, well, whatever plugins and whatever sounds I used, they're opening with that project. So how happy are you now? So 12 months later, like you said, how much happier are you that you learned to make your own music and not use construction kits, loops, MIDI you know what I mean? Like you have learned to make your own music, your own chords, your own melodies, your own drum loops from one-shot drum samples.
Very, very satisfying.
Right.
Especially, this is coming from a guy like that. I had no music theory. I never played an instrument. Love music. Listened to it all my life. All sorts of different genres. But just being able to make your own and call it your own for me was, because it's very tempting.
And also being able to listen to it. Like when you listen to your own music, like it's kind of weird. It's like it's your own music and someone could kind of think it's weird. It's like, oh, he's listening to his own music, but it's like you made that and you're enjoying it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's like no feeling like it. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, there's plenty of times. There's plenty of time to, pull drum loops or music samples or whatever. But as you always say, it is somebody else's invention and you're using that. You can't really call that your own. You don't get the same satisfactory.
Okay, so I want to ask you a couple questions about safe spots.
Safe spots, yeah.
Did you finish the book?
Yes, I did finish the book. I enjoy the book. And I applied it to my more recent beats that I make, applied it. And you're applying what you're reading, you're applying what you're seeing in your courses as well. It's for me, it's a reminder. I have to read. I prefer watching and doing rather than reading. But again, you've learned me to. You have to read. And I understand that. No, you do have to read.
So when you read the Safe Spots book, did you find that watching the Safe Spots course brought a lot of clarity into the concepts.
Yes, definitely. I had already watched the course, and then I read about it, and I went back and watched the course again. But because I just told you I'm not a great reader, but I have to read. But the fact that I had watched the course and read the book, I could completely 100% relate to everything you were saying. In other words, I was probably a little beyond the beginner part, which made it more understandable for me. That approach definitely helped me, or worked for me that way, you know?
Yeah, no, for the most part, I really try to use the same sounds which I make available to you. So again, the exclusive audio drum bundle trio sounds. But when you watch the courses, if you have the same sounds, it's like you can literally just kind of follow along. But then again, my teaching style, I always tell you, now do your own thing, right? Learn the basics. Now you can go on and just make your own music, drum loops, melodies. And then for you, and right now it sounds, now you're on to kind of more like the mixing, right? Which takes a long time as well.
Yeah, well, yes, I love it. I really like it. That part of it. Particularly EQing and compression. They're two things that I've really studied in the last few months to try and perfect them better. But you realize as you go along how important EQ is. EQ is just so important. It's just and
balance.
It's of all of what seems complex, like compression and saturation and all that kind of stuff. EQing is probably one of the easier parts of them, and it's the most important in my view. From the knowledge I have now, it's definitely the most important.
Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, it's your final sound, right? Like, because again, there's two approaches to EQ. There's like the sound design approach where you're being aggressive, you're trying to find a sound. And then there's the EQ approach where you're trying to just tweak the sound to make it maybe fit better or balance it out in the mix.
Yeah, that's the part I'm talking about, really.
Right.
When I was talking about it, which is, finding the right space for a certain instrument or a certain sound, and try and put the bass where it needs to be and the drums where they need to be, just by EQ alone before you touch anything else. I think is very satisfactory. Just the mixer for me is
because
it's so powerful what you can do inside there.
Well, the thing is, like, you make the beat and those are all your loops, but the mixer is really that's where it all comes together, right? All your audio has to route through one insert, and then it all gets summed to the master. So you want to make sure that you're learning, your different inserts, but then you also want to learn about that master too, right? Because those are crucial. Okay.
There was one.
So, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say that during one part of the mixing of one of the beats I was doing recently, I applied delay onto a hi-hat by mistake, and it was really high. It was a really wet mix, but the hi-hat started sounding like a shaker, and I started messing around with it. And I actually ended up using delay on the hi-hat as a shaker instead of going into the channel rack. And the way you can separate and make one higher, one lower, and make it sound like a shaker in the hi-hat.
Yeah.
So you learn stuff by accident as well when you're messing around with the mixer. It's fabulous.
Okay, so just to recap. So courses that really helped you was the beginner's course, the music theory course, and the piano lessons for producers course. And then your favorite course was the FL Studio Mixer
Workflow, is it?
Yeah, FL Studio Mixer Workflow is the mixer one, yeah. And then also a specific music production folder, because you followed my music production folder when you switched over to your new computer. It was just, for the most part, it's pretty seamless, right? Like, you just drag the folder over. When you open a project, as long as you have all your plugins reinstalled, you're good to go.
Yes, without doubt. I don't think I have used the FL Studio projects folder for. Well, I have used it, but everything comes out of my own project folder from the organization.
So just to say there, so FL Studio recently did like a change to their folder, like I think in FL Studio 20. So, you can take that approach, but you just have to know what you're doing. But
Yes.
the reason why I took my own approach is just because of missing files I've experienced over the years. So I created that a specific music production folder. Keeps my music very organized, easy to back up, and again, when you switch a computer, it's the easiest thing. So my last question is, what advice would you give to somebody starting up? So if you were starting brand new, like what would you say to them to save them the first 3 months of gear loss?
First 3 months, don't waste your time too much on YouTube. YouTube is powerful, and yeah, there are some fabulous 10-minute clips about EQing or compression or whatever. But when you've no guidance or anything, any structure, you're going to overload yourself with information, because you might be trying to learn something that you're not going to use for months. You have to learn the basic foundation of something first and then develop it. And the best bit of advice actually that I would give somebody is that use your pathways system
Course
on
pathways.
your platform. Oh yeah, without doubt. Use it because it puts things into structure, really. When you're a beginner, it looks daunting when you see all the courses, and then you say, well, if there's pathways, you can learn, for instance, the beginner's course, and you can progress from there and take it step by step. Don't expect to be an expert in 6 months, but definitely you will find huge progression in 6 months if you start with pathways and don't waste your time thinking that YouTube is going to make you an expert.
Okay, and just let everyone know that the Course Pathways is a page that I created listing all of my courses in what order to take them for the best learning experience. Okay, So thank you so much, Michael, for your time.
You're welcome. It was great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, man. Like, you've been in for like 12 months. You've been such a good student. I've always told you that you have to read to learn, and you actually are, though. Like, you've come such a far way. I even have created a little folder for you whenever you've sent me beats over the time, and just
really?
like how your beats have improved. Right? Like, so you've come such a far way, and you're an awesome case study. And I hope, other people can learn if they join up just like you have.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I come looking for that music folder off you sometime.
Hey, Gratuitous here. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you want to become a better producer, then check out my podcast called Music Production Made Simple. It's totally free and available wherever you listen to podcasts. I also run a Beatmaker trainer platform. There's over 26 courses in there right now, all focused on FL Studio. It's helped a lot of students, and I'm sure you'll love it. For more information, just go to itsgratuitous.com/courses. Finally, if you like to read, all of my books are now available in one bundle, such as Audio Painting about arrangement, Safe Spots about drum loops, FL Studio Beginner's book, which is going to teach you the basics, my template book to teach you about a fast workflow, as well as proper producer mindset to start your music production career right the first time. For more information on my book bundle, just go to itsgratuitous.com/books. Thanks again for watching. Visit itsgratuitous.com for all your FL Studio training needs.